Hello, my name is Victoria DeLoach, and I will be doing this Phase 1 overview of Nerali Cosmetics e-commerce website project. Our agenda is the introduction of this project and in the three sections provided of audience data, compare and contrast, physical layout, and the end summary. This is an overview of the content acquired during Phase 1 of the project entailing Nerali Cosmetics and how it has been applied to achieve the goals outlined in the original timetable for completion. In the course of this presentation, every major element of this project will be discussed and showcased for a full understanding of the project so far. Our first section was within our audience data collection. This included target markets and creating personas from the dates January 22nd to January 29th. Nerali's Cosmetics customer profile was a necessary unit that we needed to better fully understand our customer base. We discovered that most of our consumer base will most likely be female in their late 20s, a lower income, married, a higher degree such as bachelor's or higher, cosmetologists, environmentalists, and unemployed/mothers for their occupations, and most likely having a small family size, if any children at all. The most important benefits we found would most likely be important to our consumer base is their health, having a healthier care routine, the impact, helping the environment and small communities around them, being local, being invested in the local farming for the farming community, and charity, which is contributing to the charity and bettering the world around them. To do this goal, off of this data, we made two personas to better base our work off and see what we really needed to focus on during this project. Our first person is Alina Gaines, and she's more of an environmentalist, early 20s woman who works with the wetlands and other areas around us to really be environmentally friendly and have healthier products. Our second persona is Toby Knox, and he is more of a family man who is married with children, and he wants to make sure his customers during his workplace as a barber/cosmetologist are getting what they really need. Compare and contrast. Compare and contrast included competitive analysis from February 5th all the way to process flow at February 26th. With content inventory and user journey in between. This included making use cases to better understand what we really needed in our site, in which we would compare these use cases to three other competitors that we would have in the future. Our first use case was a barber by the name of Toby is looking for a new brand of shampoos and conditioners to buy from after finding how harsh his old ones are on his client's hair. He wants to find the ingredient list easily, as previous companies have been frustrating before. So we found what worked and didn't work for each company for each use case. And for this one, it was mostly like the ingredient list is fairly easy to find. Ingredients are listed. And they do usually list both main and minor ingredients. However, we found that most of them weren't very detailed in their ingredient list, only what was necessary for the tab. As well as maybe, as it was easily found, it wasn't directly in your face. You had to go through another tab section or you had to scroll down pretty far to find it. As well as allergens such as fragrance and colorings weren't really easily found, or they weren't mentioned at all, which can be a serious health risk. Our second use case was an environmental activist by the name of Lena, our first persona, wants to share the impact of Nerali Cosmetics has on the environment and the good they are doing, which has been difficult in the past due to long embeds and difficult linking. Many of our sites we found were relatively easy to share and their URLs were relatively short, which is easy to embed. But it was hard to find socials or an easy way to share their content. And sadly, in this regard, most of these companies didn't have an easy way, or they had a weird selection of socials as well. For use case 3, Alina, an environmental activist and avid makeup user, wants to see how the ingredients used in Nerali's Cosmetics products are actually impacting the outcome of using them and finding user reviews easily. We found that many companies did have reviews, and it was usually in a comment space that was somewhat easy to find, and they did sometimes have a star average rating system. However, most of these companies didn't cultivate their reviews as well, or their reviews were literally on their own page. It was hard to find for some of them. It was just a mess for most of these companies, including Nautilus Soap Company and Florida Artisan Soap, so we really wanted to prioritize that. Competitive analyze do's. We've mentioned before, we should have all the ingredients. We should be able to describe all the ingredients and why we need them. Making sure the review section is easy to find and having sorting features so that people could find what they really wanted to know out of a product, accessories, keywords, making sure our share features were easily usable and that they were in the forefront and you could find them quickly, and having our links be short and not really long and extended to help people share those links easier. And of course, our don'ts or opposites of that, as well as making sure we have alerts and warnings and not to leave them out, making sure that we do have a system to cultivate the reviews and not have pointless reviews that don't even summarize the product or even talk about the product, making sure they're easy to find, having a large group of socials would be very helpful, and making sure that we do have an outlet to have many reviews. So our content inventory was the first one over of what we believe that we needed in our website, and currently it is very similar, but we did add more things we felt were necessary and in more detail currently. We then do user journeys to go more in depth into how our customers would feel trying to get to our products and going through the websites. So these examples would be that somebody's looking to see what's in a product and they just can't find it. So what would be a positive experience? What would be a negative experience? We also did this 3 times to make sure that we were really in depth. We also did this again with a process flow with a more visual example of these experiences. So this one's with our persona Toby, and he wants to buy a product he's purchased before, and all the paths that he could do, everything that's possibly that could come up or prevent him from doing what he wants to do. Kind of like a choose your own adventure map to help us more visually understand what might happen and things that we might skip out of on our biased perspective of working on this project. Next was our physical layout, finally assembling content and physical testing to understand how physically it would work with our research. This included the content outline from March 5th to April 2nd with prototyping, with site mapping, and wireframes in between. Roy's Cosmetics content outline is a more fleshed out version of what we showed you before, with things that most of them are the same, but we wanted to add more detailed pages, such as the face, having primer, concealer, and foundation set pages to actually be able to get to that content quicker. And this was our idea to make it a less complicated experience at the time. We also added hyperallergenic because we felt like that community having their own space and be able to quickly find what they need would be very important. This sitemap reflects that as well, though as you can see we did take out the little sub menus concept because we found that maybe it would be too cluttering. So now this is more of an accurate representation of what the website would have and what our drop menus would be and where websites would be nested within each other. Then we physically drew out what we really wanted in each page. This is the home page of what the website may look like. The product catalog area, so an overview of products. A product detail, so a single product image page. Shopping cart when you went to checkout. Checkout after shopping cart page where you actually pay for your item and where it would go. And the user account page where you would see all your user history and maybe any coupons or where your addresses are linked and things like that, more personal information. We then did user scenarios to further think of that user experience except using real people and giving them very brief concepts of what to do with a physical copy. So our first user scenario is you were looking for a hyperallergenic shampoo, find the related products and pick out which one you want, then check out and complete your purchase. So then we have this physical copy that this person has to click on where they think they're going to go. For this example, they click on shop, all the drop down menus appear, they go to hyperallergenic, they find the hyperallergenic page, they look for the product they want, they click on that, they see they want it, they push the add to cart button, they go to this checkout page, right? The final checkout. And that's how that process works. So it was a physical representation where you physically move pieces of paper. We also did this 2 more times. As you can see, the process of going through each page. 1 more time. The process of going through each page physically. And overall, this project has been completed to its current standing as originally outlined in our timetable, and we are looking to press forward with virtual building of our model. As this comes to a close, it is with true intent that I hope that this presentation has shown the full completion of Phase 1, and questions are welcome to further the understanding of this current project. Thank you.